We can talk about SpongeBob if you want. Basically the same thing.
It really is better. It's not even that cold.
It's so good.
My computer just shut down on me.
By the way,
Hey, we're all here.
are we all live? I don't know if we're
Yes.
live. I
Yes,
should
we
probably
did.
pull
We
that
just
out.
went live.
Are we officially on the
And I
interwebs?
look like potato mommy myself in my white sweatshirt.
You know what? It's gonna be a really dedicated listener to know what potato mommy is.
I know, right? Although we have
We do.
in our
Speaking
very niche moments here, mentioning
speaking
potato mommy. Who knows
of
potato
potato
mommy?
mommy, yeah, we might be too early for the potato mommy crowd. I am editing my fourth book tomorrow. I've got all the edits back from the publisher. They emailed me on Tuesday, and I promptly sent Chantel a text message
She
that they
did.
were insane because they messaged me on Tuesday with an entire book that they've had the content for at least 9 months. And they're like, we need all your edits back by Thursday. And I'm like, so sorry, but you can get them back on Monday. This
Because
is not going to
I
happen. I have a
work.
job now, and I was telling Chantel, I worked 24 hours in the last 2 days because we had events and things going and had to travel.
Right.
And I have been up since 4:45 and I'm really tired. And I just realized I look naked with the way my hair is at the moment. And
You're like
I'm
florally
not naked.
naked.
I'm wearing the muumuu.
The
And
summer moo.
yes. So
It's
I've been wearing muumuus
seasonal.
for a year now on the show.
You're a moo.
But anyway, so my plans tomorrow are to print out all of my original patterns, print out the entire book, go sit my butt in the coffee shop slash bookstore and make sure everything is correct, and then send them off all their things on Monday,
Hopefully on Monday.
hopefully. Well, Sunday, because I have things like jobs on Monday now. But
Yes.
hi, Joan, how are you?
Almost
By
went
the
to
way,
sleep but
I'm
realized.
I'm
So did
I'm
I.
pressing blocks, by the way. You were not going
Oh,
to sleep.
no, I
You were
wasn't.
reading Fourth Wing because Chantel finally started it
You were
and
right.
you're hooked.
You're you're completely right that
Yeah.
I need to read fellow ADHD authors
Yes.
because the lully about romantic thing happening over 55 chapters um doesn't work as well for me. But if you catch me on the right tone, you can get me to read over
You
10
have not even
hours
gotten
in the last
to
24 hours.
you haven't even gotten to a kiss yet. And you are hooked, I think.
I I was able to shut in the middle of a chapter just earlier. So ADHD captured maybe.
Yeah.
But like I'm going to probably pick the book up again in the next week or day or tonight because I can't guarantee how that will work.
I am just gonna
It's funny
say,
how I can just forget that I'm actually enjoying something and like let it disappear from my memory that I'm actually enjoying this book.
I'm just gonna say
Hmm.
that I think that Sigale and Taryn are scheming, and you're gonna have to let me know if you agree with me when you get to a certain scene, and you'll know exactly what it is I'm talking about.
Mm.
I think they're scheming.
You think they're scheming? Well, I mean, they have to be in on this stuff. Sorry, we've fallen into books already. We
We
are
have.
so bad.
It's bad. We are bad.
Um,
This is supposed to be a quilting channel. Hello, Anna and Colleen.
oh hey everybody. We're so happy to see you guys here. It's
We
it's our
are.
weekly like moment to chill.
It's our brain dump.
We were
And today I'm
I
ironing things.
and I have black cherry for once.
And I only buy black cherry because apparently I drink less than Chantel does.
Irish descendancy. Descendancy? Is that right?
You know I can match you drink for drink.
Oh, you could, but
I
you
choose
might
not to.
dance afterwards.
Or drape myself over seesaw chairs on a cruise ship.
I mean, I get a little bit more Spitfire and direct and actually manage to get things done when I've had a few drinks. I get like the creative,
The buzz, yeah.
I it's like the creativity combined with the focus that I've been waiting for.
Maybe it shuts down like the part of your brain that
I think it
wanders.
does. The those parts, these parts, whatever these are.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Oh man. So
What is
did you
everyone
do
working on
yeah,
tonight?
what is we're gonna do this right this time.
We
We're
are. We're
gonna
going to ask the quilting question to start with. Hi, Jan. I am pressing blocks, and I think that's
and
all
they
I'm going
look
to do today.
so cute.
They are so fun. And I do have a whole half stack that still needs like one more side put on, but I don't know that I have that in me today because I'm exhausted. So,
I
but
wish my project just included half sides, but
you
right
were
now
claiming that you're going to be naked, but yet you're
I
not
am
sewing
going to be
yet.
naked.
So
Yeah,
I
no,
feel
no,
like
no.
you
This is
probably
just
should
like
start
the
doing this.
shutdown moment. I have half of a skirt back here. I have the ruffles done,
Good.
and I need the
Progress.
lower ruffle section done, and um, no shade to Renaissance ribbons, but a little bit of shade. Uh, I ordered ribbon last Wednesday, not like 2 days ago, like a week and 2 days ago. It
You
just
know,
shipped like today.
I don't know how the consumer fulfillment goes, but I know that the business to business fulfillment is handled by Free Spirit now
Hmm.
and
No,
Jack's
and
X.
theirs is
Is
combined
it
with
coming from
Pink
North
Door
Carolina?
Fabrics.
Okay.
No, it's coming from Colorado.
Okay. So then it's not coming from Free Spirit. So
Yeah.
we were not going to throw shade on that.
Mm-mm. No, it's
And is
not
that
that. And
for,
well, Pink Door Fabrics does a lot of subscription based quilting bombs and things like that. And so they get really busy and I know they get backed up. But I have been waiting on my Memorial Day sale ribbons.
oh my goodness, for a minute.
And I'm not going to get them until probably Tuesday, Monday or Tuesday.
Now, is
And
this
these
what
are
you're
the
going to be
ribbons I
using
need
on
for
your
the shoes.
shoes? Yep.
Hmm.
So how are the shoes coming?
The
Because
shoes don't
Chantel is
exist.
making quilted shoes.
The
But I
shoes
thought
do
your
not exist.
plan was
But
to get it to the point where you could
I
do,
really want to see the colors
okay.
that come in those ribbons so that I can plan accordingly, right? There are a couple ribbons I
And
bought. They all
Frocktails
have,
is
yes,
when? Next
in
weekend?
2 weekends.
Yes. So
So
you
I
have a
still,
week.
I'll have, well, technically, a week and a half once I get I might be pushing it. I might be wearing a really good pair of shoes that I already own, and that's okay.
You will have gotten a bag and a dress if you start working on the dress instead of just talking about working on the
Let me
dress.
turn on the Bernina. Let her burp. She belches when you turn her on.
Colleen is finishing up a quilt top for a local humanitarian quilt group tonight, and Donna's working on the Shabby Fabrics block of the month, the Bean Club block of the month. And Colleen wants to know if your dress is done. You're currently shaming
Well,
Chantel.
I
She's got to
have
get the skirt on.
this part and this part, and they need to combine, and then I need to make a bottom part. I have it all cut. It's gonna get done here.
You
You know
could,
what's
that's
stopping me right now?
totally
I gotta change
reading the
my
book.
thread.
Ah,
Reading the book.
also
I've
reading the book.
had kids
This is
in
why
camp.
audiobook.
I've had children running around here from the neighborhood. I've had my toddler who is really growing up quickly. She was telling me stories. She was like, Mommy, you're a firefighter. And I said
Oh,
to her, she was telling me that daddy was a policeman. And I said, No, he's a doctor. He's not a policeman. And she's like, Fine, but you're a firefighter. And I said, Maybe dumpster fires. And she goes, Hmm, yes, firefighter. And I'm like,
you realize she's going to start repeating this.
I
And then you're
know.
going to have a situation like I had where you have to explain to the Catholic preschool teacher that no, you don't have a boyfriend and you're not pregnant. while
Thought
sitting
of
in a chair
that?
meant for a 3-year-old.
That
Yeah.
definitely thought of that. But it
Yes.
was so funny because she's like, "Mommy's a firefighter," and I'm like, "No!" And then it was like, "I do fight fires, fight a lot of fires."
Yes. Your headphones are going out just a smidge, I think.
Are
Joan
they?
says she's assembling a 5-yard quilt of fabric that she wanted a quilting retreat. Ken's World of Crafty's working on the Moda BH6 of week 2.
Ooh, what's that?
I'm not sure. Colleen is laughing. Are you laughing at my story about Catholic preschool and how my
Or my dumpster
4-year-old
fire? Yeah,
literally,
we're always laughing.
yes,
That's the point.
my this is what happened because I've shared this on here before, but I feel like we have to explain again now. So I got called into
Right.
the preschool office
I
to
know.
to chat about, I think she was 4 at the time, 4 or 5. And because she had been telling some stories at school, many, many, many things, some of which were believable and some of
Ludicrous
which were definitely
stories.
not. And but she wanted to see what the home situation was because she
Oh,
had told her teacher that I was pregnant and had a boyfriend. And my husband drops her off every single day at school, so it's not like she hasn't seen dad around a lot. And so I'm having a conversation with a chair meant for a 3-year-old. I'm sitting in this at this tiny table that's maybe a foot and a half off the ground, talking about no, that's definitely not accurate. I I'm happily married and, and there's no boyfriend, there's no baby. We're and I'm just mortified, mortified. And like the moral of the story, like they weren't like judging
oh
me
my
because of
God.
Catholic preschool or anything. They wanted to make sure that like if anything ever happened to her that she would be believed and not dismissed because she's always saying random crap. But it was like one of the most embarrassing moments of my life, easily.
Oh my God. It was so
Hello,
good.
Sylvia, and hello, Stitch Me Up with Lainey Grace.
Oh my gosh. It was so funny.
Oh my,
I'm
well,
sorry. It was funny for
it
me
it's funny now. It was very not funny at the time that it happened.
until my daughter, who's 3, starts repeating, "My mom's a firefighter, a dumpster firefighter."
That's gonna happen. It's so gonna happen. You just wait.
And I'll laugh through it and be like, "Indeed,
I
I
am in
do
fact a
put out
dumpster fire.
dumpster fires."
Oh goodness.
I do. I tried to tell her I'm a sewist. I'm a sewist. I sew, I quilt. She said, "You're a firefighter." Can you fight with the 3-year-old about who you are?
Probably not.
No,
No.
no. It is what it is. So I'm just glad that she's starting to label things more. Like we were a little worried about her speech for a while.
Well, it sounds like she had like a whole sentence, so that's pretty
Oh
good.
yeah, no, she has complete thoughts. It's just a matter of if you can understand the latter half of the thought
Yeah.
because we
Lily
talk
was
like
the same.
auctioneers in our house. So, I mean, she can say a few swear words. So I know she's picking things up. It's not on
I
purpose.
also once had a conversation with a preschool teacher about that at Catholic preschool. And I was like, well, at least she didn't say the F word. Literally, that's what came out of my mouth.
Well,
I was
yeah,
like,
and
well, we'll talk about it.
that's when the standards get where they are,
I
and
know,
we're
right?
going through the whole thing where like the older kids, because they're 8 and 10, and they're like, "Daddy said the S word." And you're like, "Daddy's an adult, and those are adult words."
We have that conversation too. And then,
And
like, if we're like listening to a Taylor Swift song and it's got something in it that shouldn't,
yeah, there's swear words every couple
you
words
know
in
what's
my personal preference of music. And so that's very, very difficult because the kids are like, "We never listen to music." And I'm like, what about that?
there's a reason for that.
Because mommy and daddy's taste happens to be more of the early 2000s music.
Yeah.
And our oldies are not the oldies of our parents.
This is why I I'm regularly skipping songs if I'm playing like my girl power pop up playlist or my
Yes.
workout mix. I'm like,
And
oh, we can't listen
Hazel,
to Lizzo. We can't listen to
I
Lizzo
know.
in the car with the kids. Sorry.
And Hazel the other day, I was Get Low was on, and she's like,
Oh, I think I let that one play with my kids in the car. I'm
this
just gonna
is
say
kind of good, but it's also like a little, I don't know. And I was like, it's from my childhood. She's like, if it's from your childhood, I understand that you're just going to like it, and maybe it won't make sense to me. And I was like, I was I was like trying to keep it together as she's saying these very profound words about the
that's
fact that
funny.
it's from your childhood. And so it will be, special to you and maybe not make sense to me.
That's funny.
And I'm like, we're talking about Get Low. We're talking about
So
Lil Jon here.
I have played Taylor Swift's Reputation album on repeat for about 4 months, and my older child
I
is
know.
very sick of it at this point.
I'm
And
sick of it. It's a safe thing to play while still being a little angry.
well, yes, a little, but there's a song called Dress where she goes, I bought this dress so you can take it off. My 11-year-old asked what that meant. And I was like, well, honey,
I mean, we were listening to Boys to Men, and they're like,
I know, right?
what the
They're,
things that they were saying.
yes.
Take off
I
your clothes and all this
don't you,
stuff. And
I remember roller skating in my elementary school gym to Boys to Men.
I'm so broken.
And I was like holding hands with this boy named Raphael as we
Oh,
skated
yeah, you
around
were.
the Boys to Men. I was like in fifth grade. It was so dumb.
So dumb.
So
And yet
dumb.
it is the core memory.
It is like I have not thought about that in literal years until you
Oh,
brought
no,
that
no, no,
up.
no. It was the recall button. That just happened for you.
Shiloh Elementary in Zion, Illinois,
Oh,
when I had the crush on Raphael.
and you got the handhold.
I did. I got the handhold.
Pivotal.
Oh my goodness gracious.
That's the
I'm old.
confidence that lets you now come on air in a moo
Well, it's Friday night. We're in our PJs.
Friday
Notice
night,
the
and
camera
I
is
wore this
angled.
all day.
The camera is angled so you cannot see the bottoms of the boobs.
Just
So
like
we're all good.
go get our sewing project over here, but my camera likes to follow me
It
because
does.
I have
You had the fancy one, and I just
I
had the
got
computer, which is
but
fine.
also it looks like I'm not looking at you guys all the time because my camera is off to the side instead of in the center.
I just want to say this reminds me of a Dickens Village.
Oh, it does.
Oh,
I was
you know what?
reading my book today, all cuddled up, and I was like, I just wish my Christmas tree was over there. And then I
You
realized I'm even
you know
halfway
how my
there.
goal, you know how my goal this week was to get my Christmas decorations down?
Yes, guys, her goal this week was to get her Christmas decorations down.
I haven't touched them. They're still sitting there.
I told you the Dickens Village can stay up.
It cannot. It needs to go away. I
Well, I'm
absolutely
taking
have
it
to do
next
it
year. If you need
before
to have like some type of
intervention.
safe place for it to sit because you need a moment away from it, like a
I mostly just
custody
need to put it
agreement.
away. You're gonna take good care of my grandmother's Dickens Village.
Oh, I have all the cabinetry to put it on top
Look
of.
at that. Oh,
Oh, that also looks like a little Dickens Village.
I know it's so adorable. I'm like super
I'm sick
hyper
to my
now. I shouldn't
stomach.
be. I'm so
It's
tired.
me.
It is. I called her and I was like, she's looking back in town. I'm like, I am.
She's like,
And I,
Chantel, Chantel.
and I'm like, where are you in your thing? And she tells me where she's at in the book. I'm like, oh my God, I have to get off the phone. You have to read more. You
I was
cannot
like,
stop right
no.
here.
It finally got you on the phone. It's been like a 2 day hiatus. She calls me 2 days ago and she's like, as my emergency contact,
Yes, this is truth.
I'm not going to be reachable. And I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? She's like, I have to go on a business trip.
Yes. I had
And
12 hours of work,
it's
two
like,
days in a row.
what are we going to do?
I know. Oh my God.
This is important. Imagine
I
when you're
did
in Canada
look. I
and
still I still sent you memes of taxidermied squirrels that look like they're on stripper poles. So
okay,
I was
you
still
weren't
thinking of
wrong.
you during the day.
I definitely need that. I need an ugly den. You
I
know, that
told
is
you I
something
thought you
I
needed
don't
it.
have in my house. I don't have an ugly den. Like
I mean,
the
you can
kind
make
of
it happen.
I am a designer. I could make it happen. I don't know if I am that devoted to anything to make the ugly den.
You have a jackalope in your kitchen.
Yes, but it is a beautiful jackalope. Okay. The ugly den. Think of all the things you would think of in an ugly den. You would have like wood paneling, right? Like maybe a light shag carpeting. In the fireplace area, it has to have a fireplace area.
You have to have no dogs if you're going to have shed carpeting.
I know, but this is the ugly den. You have 7 dogs, okay? Because it's the ugly den. You have one of those fireplace features that is not a real piece of wood. It like glows on its own.
That could be entertaining. A
You
space
have
heater that looks like a fireplace.
instead of an
That's what you
actual
need.
TV above it, you have one of those things like at the Chinese restaurant where it like glows and it moves, like the picture frames.
Could be.
The ugly den could be done. And in the ugly den, you would have the epic taxidermy that you
It could be
provided
good.
me with today.
I feel like I need to locate
I
this
feel
now.
like there is a house for this. Hi, AB. I just saw the shoes in. There is a house for this. It is not in my house, but
This is what I sent Chantel. And I said, I think you need one of these. And she 100% agreed that
I
she
do.
needed this squirrel with its
I
pink
love
toenails on a tiny squirrel-sized stripper pole.
I love weird things. I'm
She
not gonna
does.
lie.
She
I just
totally loves it.
love the weird. I'm never like it like zoomed in on me when that happened, by the way. Like it zoomed
Amy's
in on
on.
me. I'm like crying here.
Hey,
I
Amy.
um I love funny things.
Yes, accurate.
Like Seth,
Very
Seth
accurate.
just
I
sent me
find the weirdest
pictures.
crap and I
I
send
know
her
it.
things.
And half the time I already own it.
Like you're Aldi. This was our
Yes.
conversation last week. Aldi came out with pool floaties that what was it, sticks of butter?
Sticks of butter and sandwiches.
And I sent it to her and she's like, "Oh, I already have
Oh, I
three."
already got those. I already got those. Those
That's
are
funny.
done. Not only that, this
Nutcracker.
week, oh, okay, that one's really cute.
It's really
Good
cute.
fussy cut.
Yeah.
Not only do I have them, but I got these
Are they already
banana
in your pool?
floaties. No, not yet. I have these banana floaties that are like banana boat rockers. And so we can have, I bought 2 of them. So you could have dueling banana fights with sandwiches and sticks of butter.
That is very cute.
Yes, because that's the kind of stuff that makes the world go round. At least
So,
my world.
ooh, happy Bergmeyer's on. I haven't seen you in a bit. So let me tell you about where I stayed last night because you will appreciate it, Chantel, now that I know
Wait,
where
did it
you
have
spent some of your,
taxidermy?
it did not have taxidermy.
Oh darn.
I thought we were going to be in a hotel in Des Moines, but because the organization I work with helps seniors find their perfect place to live, uh,
Oh,
we stayed at a guest suite in a senior living facility. And I had a double bed that I shared with my female coworker with pillows lined up in between us so we wouldn't roll over onto each other. And I woke up at 4:45 in the morning because I went to bed at a reasonable hour because it was silent and I was sharing a room with someone who didn't sleep as go to bed as late as me. And my brain just wakes up after 6 hours now. And I'm just like, great, now I'm wide awake and I have to lay here and I
and
can't go
hear this
anywhere.
other person breathe.
Exactly. So I'm exhausted. And but
Oh my God.
so that's where I spent my night.
We
It's
at
like
least
a
had separate beds.
senior living facility. Yep. And
So
But
for everybody here, basically, I don't think we've ever talked about this. When I was little, for a reduced amount of rent, my mom and I lived in a assisted living facility that was like independent apartments, in exchange that my mom would be the able-bodied person that could answer all the like alarm calls in the middle of the night or
yeah,
whatever, and help with random household needs as needed. So, when Winifred managed to flush, 100 bobby pins in her toilet because she couldn't see, my
well,
mother was able to go. This is a true story.
I
um
believe it.
my mother was able to go there and see that 100 bobby pins had been flushed and get a hold of Dick and Ardith, who were the people that
Maintenance guys
essentially run the location, so that they could come out and
take the
excavate,
toilet.
100 bobby pins, because
We don't
Winifred
want
had
that
no
going through the
idea
plumbing.
where her bobby pins were going. If you're wondering where your hair ties are going, it just,
My children are losing them. That's what's happening in my house.
I feel like my actual washer is eating socks. And we found out that my washer was actually eating the color catchers I was putting in, to the point where we've
You
had to
did tell
take
me this.
apart the washer twice.
I've heard this story multiple times.
John is not happy. The
I'm sure
last
he's
time
not.
we had to take it apart was about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. And yeah, he is not happy. We can't use color catchers. I said, but we can't afford to just, let all our clothes be different colored. And he said, yes, we can.
There's this thing called sorting laundry, and when all else fails, washing on cold.
All of
And
these
both of those will
things
work.
are now John's favorite thing. So
Well, there you go. I've
yeah,
given you a solution.
well, yeah, and this is clearly what he has chosen. So I thought for sure I was going to find a sock in there. Actually, it turns out our sock disposal is my dog Cubby, who I've decided
Um,
I have
I
bonded
think
with like a dragon, and
I
that's
think
why I understand him.
I think so. I think you're having conversations with him the way you do Violet does with Taryn.
Yeah, it's very clear that I have
There's going to be
bonded
a
with my
lot
dog.
of fourth wing represents today because Chantel started half a day ago and she's very far in and I'm very proud of her. And I told you you would love it.
Well, at one point you're like, she is a big reader, and I'm like, I don't feel it as I'm reading this other book series that we read. Like, I don't feel like much of a reader right now, because it doesn't seem to be getting me anywhere.
Oh,
It just wasn't as
I told you it was
organized.
good. Told you it was good.
I know. You're
It
like,
is action packed. Action
why does
packed.
this sound so
It just
violent
sounds a
here?
little noisy today. I guess I'm gonna sell more things. Oh, we got a fourth wing is awesome from Happy Bergmeyer. Have you gotten through Onyx Storm? Don't give any
Ooh.
spoilers.
Yeah, don't give any spoilers. I'm like still early
Chantel
on here.
is still very early
Oh
on.
boy. I got a negative on that one.
What is that?
It's all the,
Ooh, interesting.
I don't know what I did. Who knows? Try
Who knows?
again.
Shit happens. Oh,
Rethread and try again.
not yet. So here's the deal on Onyx Storm. I loved it. It tore my heart out. I kind of wish I hadn't read it until the next one's out because I really need to know what happens next. Really needs to know. Like I downloaded the part one of the graphic audio of it, and I cannot bring myself to listen to it because I don't want to put myself
Through it.
through the trauma just yet. Either
Isn't that
that or I'm
crazy
just
how a
really
book can do
waiting.
that?
I know, I saw this meme the other day. It's like reading is good, it's relaxing for you. And it's like me at 3 a.m.
I
after
just
I
nodded
just
down my
read the
face for
words,
that one.
it's been my honor. And I'm like, oh my God, tears arriving right now.
I wanted to stay up all night last night and listen. And you know what I thought about? I thought about you at your parents' house. You're like, I'm a little tired today.
I
After you
totally
stayed
lied.
up all night
All night. I
listening to
literally
Quicksilver.
pulled a all-nighter listening to Quicksilver because I was trying to get to chapter 22, and let me tell you, it was worth it. It was
Oh,
so
it's
worth
worth
it.
it now, but it was not worth it then. You were
Well, my parents were
suffering.
very concerned about me. They were very concerned that something was wrong with me. And I was like, I'm just tired. I didn't sleep very well last night
Just
because
really
I'm
tired.
40 years old and didn't want to admit to my parents that I'd made the very irresponsible decision of not sleeping the night before because I
I
was reading a book.
was listening to a book. I stayed up all night reading means something very different in your 40s than it does when you're 11.
I just want to tell you though, to anybody who wants to read Quicksilver, I'm rereading it right now on paperback. But listen to the audio first.
Better?
It is a male and a female narrator, and oh my God, it is amazing. Amazing.
Yes, everything is on sale right now on Audible.
I know I bought a bunch of stuff
Um,
on Audible today.
oh my gosh, that is such a dirty trick they pull. They're like, it's all on sale and it's all like $2, $3, $4. And you're like, I don't have to use my credits. I
I
can
know, right?
pretend to read all these books.
Speaking of, let me get the rest of the dramatized versions of ACOTAR while we're talking.
While we're talking about it,
While
I
we're
don't know
talking
why
about
we
it.
don't even share an account for that matter, because at this point it's like,
Oh yeah, we're basically reading all the same things.
oh,
What is the name of the third book? A Court Wings and Ruin. That's it.
is that what it's called? I
Yeah.
don't know.
I feel like though I do not need the Christmas special
Ugh.
as dramatized. I don't need that one. I'm good.
I feel like sleigh bells would be playing in the back. I am so disgusted by that book.
I need it. I mean that one, I mean it's fine.
Although, how much is it?
I don't care. I don't need to
If
hear it
it's
again.
350 or under, I would buy it
I don't need it again.
for the hope that I might get through it. Okay, I don't want to get this twisted here.
It is literally $2.23. I'm literally just giving Audible my money right now.
On air, Audible. Thank
My
you.
bookstore slash coffee shop now has sandwiches and protein boxes, which
Oh,
means they
shut up.
officially
You're
are going to have
screwed.
all my money. I know I'm going to be there as long as my computer battery will last, is what's going to happen.
I just do. Oh
Apparently they're,
no.
what'd you do?
I sewed it as a half, like accidentally into the, it's fine. I like my seam ripper. It's pretty.
Time to go bring it out.
It's all good.
It's 87% off, people. You
Mm,
heard it here first.
well, if you're a member.
I'll do it right now.
If you're not a member, then it is not on
Yeah,
sale.
you have to be a member, but I totally,
We totally take advantage of that. It's hard to
I,
not be a member when you
I need to
like an
hear
audiobook.
A Court of Silver Flames dramatized. That is something I will not be able to listen to in public.
That's
No
true.
chance.
Some of these books
No
are
chance.
oh, who is the Quicksilver author? I don't
Callie
know, but
Hart.
you can, what is it?
Callie Hart.
Callie.
Um,
Isn't it
yeah,
Callie? Not Kelly. Callie?
Callie.
Callie?
Yes,
Yes.
and Netflix just picked it up.
You're kidding. That quick?
I am not. I mean, it's been out for a while. Brimstone is coming out in the fall. I've already pre-ordered it.
Yeah, but that's
I mean,
pretty
it's on
good.
the New York Times bestseller list.
Well,
And
yeah,
I feel
but
like it will like really lend itself very well
there are
to,
things that lend themselves well to being able to be dramatized on
oh yeah,
television.
this one's great. Quick,
There
oh
are
my
other
God.
things that would be very
I will tell
expensive.
you, Quicksilver is spicy, and to
Muy
listen to it,
caliente.
to listen to it in the spice, the male author does a, or audio, what do you call it, narrator does a fabulous job. Like I literally sent a friend of mine who likes these types of books too, like a quote from it. She's like, and I'm downloading the audiobook right now. She already has it on paperback, but I'm like, you need this. I'm sorry you have to do it. But Rob
I
says
have,
he loves your Flintstones shirt. He's a big fan.
oh, thanks. Penny likes this shirt because she just pokes at everything.
That's funny. She probably doesn't know what any of it is.
Has no idea. My kids have no idea that this was a thing.
It's funny.
Hey, and you can't find it either.
But yeah,
All
I
right.
like Quicksilver mostly because it was a good story. You understood the magic. The character is like the female main character I really liked because she's flawed, but she also has quite the foul mouth and will not put up with crap from anybody, which I love.
Not a
Like,
pushover.
no, not at all. Like, she does not start off as a damsel in distress who figures it out. Like, she already is kicking butt from day one. Like, from the first page, she's kicking butt. And that's why I
Like
really
that.
like that one. Yeah.
Although I very much relate to the nerdy should have been a scribe uh attitude of Violet as a very short, you know, academic
So
type.
I've watched a ridiculous amount of interviews with Rebecca Yarros, the author, and she really liked the idea of the power dynamic flipping, with Violet being the one who was like considered the weakest, and then she ends up being very powerful. And
Well, don't tell me too much because
I'm
we
not
are
going to tell you
not
anything. I'm not going to say anything else, but
good.
she does. It's quite the power flip for her. And, but, and
Good
really her
books.
mind is like her greatest weapon anyway. So,
Well, isn't anybody's? I mean,
I mean, yeah, for sure.
don't underestimate a smart woman or
True.
man for that matter. Don't underestimate anybody who can actually find the answers to their questions.
You know what my most common phrase is to my husband, probably? I
You should
think
have known
Google.
that because I already
No,
told you.
I I think Google has the answer to that question because he will ask me something that I don't know the answer to, and he knows I don't know the answer to it, but I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do to find the answer to that, and what you can do
You
on
might
your
be
own without
leading
me having to
him.
do it.
You might be leading him on though. Apparently occasionally patients come in feeling like they have been blessed with Dr. Google
No,
on their side.
this is not Dr. Google. This is very much like very commonly figured out things. I'm trying to think of a good
Okay,
example.
just
Like,
saying that can go extreme, right? Like you
yeah,
can be like, oh, I bet the Google has the answer. I always say to the Google.
yes.
And
No, I know better than Google medical advice because I'm only going to scare the crap out of
no,
myself.
you just text me about
It's not going to happen. I do Google things when I'm trying to figure out stuff for books all the time. Like,
there are things worth Googling.
yeah,
Definitely. There are a million things that you should probably go to Google to before you're willing to spit it out into a public forum and ask the question.
accurate. I just want to say that if I ever actually get a book published, like a fiction book, and anybody reads it, my fight scenes have come from YouTube videos. 100% of the time.
And this one book on medieval warfare.
Yeah, one book on medieval warfare. Now, this week, I got book recommendations on herbs that were used in pregnancy in the Middle Ages.
I was wondering
So
how that went. You had a
this was,
meeting.
I did.
Explain this a bit.
Okay, so I, the coffee shop slash bookstore that I often work at several days a week because I need to get out of my house is like the set of Friends. Everybody goes there. Everybody knows everybody.
It's true.
I,
You
this
run
week,
into people you know.
Well, but I've met there. I don't know them outside a lot of the time. This week I hung out with Steven, who dances in Ballet Quad Cities and also
Ooh,
teaches drum corps and is now moving to Texas because his program here got cut and he's going to get paid a lot more in Texas because they really care about their high school football there. And I hang out with Jenny, who runs a fiber shop and is only open Thursday through Saturday, so she knits in there during the rest of the days of the week. And then there's Freya, who is an astrophysics student at Augustana
where
College,
is
who's there all the
my
time.
dating coffee shop at? Because
I
I
don't
want
know.
to
You
date a
just need to come
friend.
up. You need to come out. And like literally, we all share tables together. We don't know each other outside of this place. We just hang out there so much. We all know each other
You
now.
should write a
It's
book just
ridiculous.
about that.
I know it's hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious.
The
But
data table coffee shop.
that's basically what's happening. We're all sharing tables. We're all shooting the shit. We know what's going on in everybody's lives. Like it's
I
insane.
want to date you. I mean, I don't purposely want to date the table, but I want to find my place where I find people and not realize that it was a catalyst for my friendships in the
Yeah,
future
basically.
until all of a sudden I realized it was the catalyst for meeting all my friendships.
So 2 weeks ago, I'm on my way there to go work for the day. And I'm pulling up and I get an email from Stephanie 2.0, who comes on here every once in a while, who used to work for me. And she's like, I just ran into Sarah McGinnis, who she doesn't know at all, but is best friends with my kid's daughter. And they go to school together. And I'm like, cool, I'm going to be there in 5 minutes. So we end up sitting at the table with her and Sarah, who have not known each other at all before this conversation, and
Okay, what
Stephanie
is this coffee
2.0's.
shop?
It's called the Atlas Collective. It's a bookstore slash coffee shop
Okay,
and LGBTQIA
in Moline.
friendly in, yep, Moline, right by the bridge. And it's great. Great atmosphere, really cool place to hang out.
Love that.
And also sitting with her is Stephanie's doula, when they were just meeting for coffee. So we have four of us sitting here. Two of us, or none of us knew each other. Like me and Sarah knew each
You're
other, and
all
me and
like
Stephanie knew each other. We're like
connections from
connected.
connections from connections.
We literally sat there for like 3 hours talking randomly, not planning on this at all. Like we're just hanging out, talking about all the things, all the things. And I end up scheduling a meeting with Stephanie's doula because one of my characters
This
has
is
to give
great.
birth in a book. And it's like not great circumstances.
You're like, can
So
I buy you coffee so
yes, I was
that
like,
you can explain what this would be like? And she's like, yes,
yes. So then we met this week and she told me all about it and gave me lots of great references for like herbs that they would have had available at that point to help
which is awesome.
treat pregnant women, like back in medieval times, because my book is like medieval times with plumbing because we don't have to explain how plumbing works if it's
Mm.
fiction.
There is
And
magic that cannot
there
be
is
explained in a book.
it,
And you know what that is? Bathrooms.
yep. There's a toilet, although I don't specifically ever mention a toilet, but I do mention like, you know,
There's never a mention of there not being a toilet.
exactly. But there's definitely a toilet. And then there's most and then there's
I
mention
love
of
that.
baths because mostly I want people to be able to take baths without having to call a servant to draw them water. This is really the only reason why I want there to be baths and indoor plumbing. We need our characters to be able to bathe without having to call people in.
I love that.
But yeah,
But we don't, yeah, we also don't need to talk about like, did you know in Versailles there was a hallway that was
the pissing hallway
the
probably.
pissing hallway?
Because didn't they just pee
It was
anywhere
a
in there?
stairwell made of marble, and
Yeah.
marble is a very porous. These are the kind of things you
Oh,
learn in
that's got to be
architectural history.
disgusting. Oh, I know it's
Yes,
porous because I have a marble vanity in my bathroom.
yes, extremely porous type of stone, and so um they didn't necessarily. It was off of the ballroom essentially, so gentlemen
They
and
would they
such.
just get drunk and go pee there?
Yes,
Oh my God.
off of this
That's disgusting.
stairwell. And that story always stuck with me
Yeah.
because it was like that was the cusp of when they started taking it more seriously, that there needed to be actual locations for this that weren't
Yeah.
made of marble stairwells.
That's goodness. That's crazy.
Yes, because of course they had chamber pots and things like this, but that was not as
Common.
oh, okay. The truth is a drunk man is going to piss where he wants to go, right?
That's
And
so gross.
it's so true though. They're just going to go into the stairwell off to the side and do their thing. And so in Versailles there was the pissing stairwell.
That's crazy.
Um, yes. And so I appreciate that your story has this unknown, omnipotent, whatever bathroom that
Yeah,
just
I
happens to be
specifically
there.
talk about a sink and I specifically talk about a tub, but I never mention a toilet, but there is usage of it because like,
It's just
you
assumed
know,
that there is
she's
proper
pregnant.
usage.
She's pregnant, so there's morning sickness. She obviously makes it somewhere to get rid
Yes.
of this and, you know,
It's just, it's there. And
yeah, it
I'm sure
exists.
it's all in my notes.
I will say
And I
I
point
did
over here because it's over there, the history
your
notes.
history books. I did get like I feel like I'm onto something because like when I was explaining like here's the setting, here's what's gonna happen to this girl, she was like tearing up while I was like explaining like what was gonna happen to her. So I
I
feel like
told
I'm
you,
really
I've
onto
told you
something.
all along. You're on to something with this whole story.
Yes.
And you know
I
how to write. And I feel like if it's more under the tone, less of the tone of Akatar and more of the casual tone of Fourth Wing, that
yeah.
you're going to
Oh, it
be
totally is.
fine.
Like well, we might get
Her
censored. We
narrator
might
has this
we might get
use of
censored
swear
slightly,
words.
but the very first words that this narrator thinks, it's in her head. She's a little bit more vulgar in her head than she is out loud. And
We all are.
she's very vulgar
Maybe
out
you're
loud
not,
too.
but
But the very first words are F me. Like that's the very first words of the book. And
are you you're
I'm
so
dead
you're
serious.
telling me that I'm
And
going to have to censor the first two words
yes.
basically
And
of
the
this
last
book for your parents because I volunteered to be the one that sticks
no,
post-it notes on everything.
you just have to censor the sex scenes. They've heard me say the F-bomb. They know it's part of my vocabulary. They can handle
I
that.
know, but do they know it is first word quality?
And the last words she speaks in the first book are F me. Or no, F fine. So it's a
You
pretty
know,
common phrase for her.
I promised that I would go through and put large post-it notes over the areas that need to be parental censored essentially and say this is where they're kissing. They continue kissing in this section here.
I may have said Chantel a scene that I was not intending to be really funny. It
It
was
was
a
really
spicy
funny.
scene. And she said I almost pissed my pants
I did.
laughing.
I did.
Uh, I,
Because it
I didn't mean
was
it to be funny. I really
no,
didn't mean it to be funny. But
it
looking
was
back, I see why it is.
the
Oh,
realism of that moment and just too close to home. So funny.
it was hilarious.
Um, I
Uh,
think you're going to do fine in the fiction category.
my husband was like, how much sex is in this book? And I'm like, it is like
I asked
125,000
the
words.
same.
I was like, it's 125,000 words. We're talking about maybe 6,000 that are spicy. Maybe. That's probably a stretch. So it's
They
not that much.
are not necessary, but important towards the movement of the story.
Yes. I only
They are
keep it
not
in there.
excessive. So
Yeah.
Stephanie recently read a book of which I got the book report.
I have not finished that because
That
I
is
cannot.
125,000 words of spicy scene and maybe 6,000 of plot.
Yeah, it was bad. It
It
was really bad. It was like, how can we
Did
fit
you
this into
finish
every single
that?
sentence? No, I can't do it. I'm like in a constant state
I
of like,
need the book report.
I can't do it, Chantel.
The
And
book
the third
report is
book
due.
isn't on Audible.
Oh, that's when you know it's bad.
I know,
It
right?
was bad.
This was literally like 80% spice and 20% plot. This is not what I'm going for. But whenever I have something in
The
there,
plot
it's
could have been
because
good.
I mean, it could have been. But whenever I put it in, it's like it's germane to the story. Like we need to have it in there because it moves the story forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do
I
I
was
need
getting
to
a little
have
worried.
it? Do I need to have it as spicy as I do? Maybe
No,
not.
there could be
But
like, and they close the door next chapter.
yeah, no. But
It doesn't really work
I
with
read
the
a little bit of
genre.
spice. We're a little bit spice. Teeny bit of spice. But
Just a bit. I mean,
literally what
a
I
little
try to
less
do,
salt and pepper, a little bit more cayenne.
I try to keep it to like three a book. That's it.
I I really liked that you sent me this thing that had like the spicy chapters laid out for me. So
That
I
was
knew what to
hilarious.
look forward to. And not that I'm like, oh my God, I gotta look forward to these chapters that are coming ahead. But like when I was reading A Court of Thorns and Roses, I was really having trouble with the momentum of keeping up with the book.
Was it that or A Quarter Mist and Fury?
It was
The
basically
second
all
one.
of them.
Yeah.
They were all a problem for me. We know this.
Well, I
Not that
feel
they
like
weren't good. They were all a 4 out of 5 for me. All a 4 out of 5
the
for
pacing
me.
just wasn't what you needed
The
to be.
pacing was not what I needed. And I needed that momentum to know that there was something worth getting to.
Yeah.
So she found this meme or this whatever that's like, it would show
Listed
a
out where
little
all the
chili
spicy chapters
pepper
were.
next to like the chapter. And it was like, this is brilliant, actually, because as a person that's going to completely benefit from the fact that there's going to be something very exciting coming forward, it was
Yeah.
worth it to like keep going. Now, I'm not saying that I only live for the spicy chapters, but usually there's
Something has
something,
happened right before or right
yes,
after that is
there's
interesting.
there is something that is pivotal that has caused such a momentous occasion.
But
Although Fourth Wing has been wonderful because it has not been
it's
as
not like that. I
no,
mean, when you get to the scene,
really.
you're gonna get to the
Well,
scene.
what
It's a
chapter
good
is it,
scene.
Stephanie?
I'm not gonna tell you. I'm just gonna tell you that you're once you get there, you are you are gonna want to get the dramatized version of that chapter.
How far into the book are we talking?
Second half.
I'm in the second half.
There's a very satisfying scene that is not spicy, but it's quite satisfying when it's winter.
Okay, we're almost to winter.
Yep. And then another one comes around the time that she figures out what her signet is.
Okay, so like February to April, if I'm mathing
More
right.
like more like spring. But yeah,
Hmm.
like
I probably
solidly
have
spring.
time tonight to get to satisfying scene number one.
Yes. When the snow falls, when when the snow falls and when you I'm telling you, Taryn and Sigale are plotting. My daughter's a future story writer. That's what everybody says when they hear about all of her little stories at school. She's like, "Oh, well, your parents are writers." Well, yeah, we are, but I finally got my husband to talk about character development and motivations, which was like pulling teeth, but it was helpful. This is why I'm going to join an online writing school in the fall when my kids are back and I'm done paying
What is this?
$350 a
Online
week for flipping camp.
storytelling school. Is it what we've been talking about, or is it more than
Yeah,
that?
the novelry. It's like a subscription-based online school for writing that actually connects you with editors and authors and literary agents who are successful and work for like the top five publishing companies. So I can actually get guidance and have conversations about character motivations and if I make this choice, will my character actually have agency or will I be taking it away and things like
Mm,
that. So,
that's a hard one.
yeah. Literally, this may sound really dumb. So my character ends up getting magic, and there's a certain way that she gets it.
Hmm.
And I wanted her to have choice in the action she takes that ultimately leads to her getting magic. And so I was like really choosing my words very carefully because I didn't want it to feel like, I don't know, like she was like craving the thing that eventually got her the magic.
Okay, yeah.
Because then it would make it seem like she didn't have a choice
Hmm.
in performing the action that eventually gets her the magic. And I'm like having this big conversation with my husband about it. And he's like, but does she know about magic? And I'm like, no, she doesn't. She has no idea about it, but I know about it as the narrator, as the author. And so I have to make this decision and because it really matters on whether she has agency or
Right.
not. Because throughout the rest of the series, she has a choice. She could do this and move it further along, or she could choose not to and do something else. And so,
It's hard because you
yeah,
become the choice in her destiny. And when
yeah,
your character starts to take on an actual like body of their own, that's
yeah.
that's hard.
That's why I kind of had to take a break because I was like at the scene where like I was like at the birth scene and I'm like, I can't write this right now because I have other
Poor
things that
scene.
I need to figure out and I
Yeah, she
have to
had to
edit.
take a break and
I'm
take
like,
a
I'm
mental
like,
moment.
exactly, like mental health, like her life is falling apart. And I'm like, I've got to figure this out first. And that I also need to edit my quilting book because that's slightly more important
Because
at the
that is
moment.
actually right now.
That's actually due Monday. So that's important.
That's like a real thing.
Yes.
You're wondering why I'm paused. I need to move over to my serger, but I
Well,
don't
then
think I
move over
have
to
it.
your surgery.
I know. I don't want to.
Well, it is 10:30. You could call it quits.
Well, I might pick up a little EPP. I've been thinking about it lately. I have put
Yeah.
my project in the corner for a while. It's
When I
sitting
was in
right
junior
here.
high, that moment was easy to find. We passed around the book. It was fell open to the spicy places.
I
That's
have a book
hilarious.
from like high school, junior high, high school that had spicier scenes in it. And I laugh at myself now because it's like my mother was literally a romance reader. There wasn't just one book sitting around
It was
that could
all the
have
books.
told me. It was all the books. I did not realize that every single book sitting around me was just full of filth.
Look, I was an English major in college. I took a class where we studied Lady Chatterley's Lover, which has a hell of a lot of spicy scenes in it, but it is a
Not
literary
only that,
classic. I studied it in college. I had to take an essay test on it. I may have been drunk off my ass when I took that test because I could not talk about the subject matter without it, and I got an A.
blushing.
Yes, it was very bad, but I got an A, and it was fine.
Isn't there
I
a
may have
Netflix
been,
series on that now?
there's a Netflix show, and it
And
is,
I'm sure it's rated mature.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
Very mature.
Like, can you imagine leading a class of 21 and 22-year-olds talking about Lady Chatterley's Lover? I
You
mean,
have
that's
to be a
basically what
certain
was
kind of
going on.
masochist to want to lead the class on that with a whole bunch of 21 and 22 year
I
olds.
mean,
Like,
so
do
in the
you
decades,
understand exactly what happened? And they're like, no. And they're like, oh, this happened. And
and we were all like jaws to the floor. Like we had no idea, no clue. We were just too innocent. But this particular professor, so in the decades before we went to school, it was not uncommon. Like I know of at least two instances where professors and even a former president may have had a relationship with a student. And
but that wasn't, I want to be
this
very
particular
clear that this was
professor,
not weird.
yeah, this
It might
particular
have been a little
professor,
off, but it was like you were an adult when
this
you
was
went to college.
probably like we went to college 20 years ago. And I think this was probably happening like 30 years ago. So it's different times, not in today's times. But this
90s.
particular professor definitely married one of his students. So that's kind of brings you where you were at. So he was clearly comfortable talking about the subject matter. But yeah, I mean, like, it can be considered high literature, even if there's what we would call spice today in it. But
Yeah, literature and spicy doesn't mean that they don't comply, but I will tell
yeah,
you right now that the stuff that my mother was reading was probably not literature. It was
maybe not.
something else.
Yeah. I mean, like
Being that I read most of it eventually.
when I read
Yeah.
Fourth Wing, I and like I've read the books 3 times now. And every time I go back, I pick up
In the
something new.
last like 5 months
Yeah,
or
not even.
less.
I probably read it in like a 3 month time span. I read them 3 times. And
It
every
makes me
time I
feel
pick up
better about
something new,
my how long I've read it
oh
over.
my God, you can't stop once you start. It's addictive. But every time I'm in there, I pick up something new. And I literally am studying the stuff for like how to include foreshadowing and great ways to include dialogue and
I have
like,
picked up. You
yeah,
mentioned there are parts where I didn't realize I said that out loud, but I read it in my Kindle
yeah.
and it was not said aloud. And
There's
those are
more
the
of that.
kind of things
Yeah.
that you're talking about having to actually read it versus listening to it,
It's not
that
just
it is
that.
hard to pick up.
One thing that I have started doing is I've been rereading books that I've read before on paperback because then I can study how it's written because I'm not worried about plot. Like I know what happens. I know where we're going. But like I like to look at what descriptions are we getting in between the dialogue?
Mm-hmm.
Like what little words are we sticking in? How are we describing how
Even
someone's
how they say
how their
said,
face is going, how what their stance is, it tells them something. Like
right,
I've created a character who, when he gets frustrated, he shoves his hands in his pockets. And so when I can just write that he shoves his hands in his pockets, we know he's frustrated. And
right, one equals the other. It becomes a
exactly,
correlation.
exactly. So
As we're currently quilting and living our life
our,
doing this, we are very much living our life in our books. I'm
we
sorry, that's
are.
just what it is.
I don't really want to know what's going on in the real world anymore. It
Hmm.
just is depressing to me.
No.
Although I
No,
heard
it's so
though,
much more fun.
there is some quilting news. So, Michael's bought the intellectual property rights to Joann's. So
Did
it's
you guys hear
entirely
this?
possible that and most of their internal brands. And I know because I did like a 3 month stint at Joann's, like in
Hmm.
between figuring out what I was going to do. A good chunk of the brands, that you saw in Joann's
Hmm.
were proprietary. So any of the pop stuff that was for kids type, um, stuff. Most of the beading accessories was all proprietary. Good
Hmm.
chunk of the fabric proprietary. So it's
Yes, it was made
possible that we'll see
specifically
more of that.
for the authentic reproduction of
Exactly.
Joanne's or whatever. And then there was also they had some type of projection system for
Yeah, that's
patterning.
cool. However, another big news, and I'm sure it's related to Joanne's closing, is the company that owns the big four pattern companies for dressmakers like Simplicity, um,
Butternick,
Vogue,
yeah.
Butterick, that they're filing for bankruptcy too. So,
Wait, what?
yeah, that came out today, I think.
McCall's?
Yeah. So I'm sure they just can't either probably Joanne's didn't pay the bill, which is entirely possible. Because that screwed over Robert Kaufman, which is why they got into big trouble and had to get bailed out by Missouri Star. Um, but so that could be it, or they could just realize that like without Joanne's buying all their patterns,
They don't
we
have
we
a
what
market.
do we have a market? Because you can buy it online. I bought a lot of patterns online
But they
directly
don't go
from their
on sale like
websites.
they do on Joann's. You don't buy
They
them
do.
online.
They do. I bought many
They
times.
go
I've done like
like
a $2 pattern sale.
four, 3. They don't go
but
down to
still.
like $1 like Joann's. And it's not
Now,
the same when you can't see the, I don't know, there's something about
here's
holding that piece of,
that pattern book. I love going through the pattern book. That's my
yeah.
favorite. But so there's speculation that there might be more fabric offerings within Michael's. There's speculation that there might be more of the brands that you know and love going through there. Um,
Well, even Joann's put up a notice on their website.
that they have something
Something
coming.
special is to come.
But who knows like what that means?
No,
I mean,
nobody
like,
knows, but that is
didn't some
hope.
company buy like the Toys R Us stuff and they use it every once in a while and
Well, yeah,
yeah,
you can find a Toys R Us section essentially in Macy's. It's not the same,
yeah,
but then you have places like Big Lots that apparently reopened afterwards, like a certain amount of Big
yeah,
Lots actually reopened in their original locations
interesting.
following their bankruptcy, but only in the very profitable and
Well, I know
whatever
that
locations after
our
selling off their stuff.
store was gutted, both here in the Quad Cities. The Moline store didn't ever do that great, but the Davenport store made a lot of money.
That's because the
A lot
Moline
of money.
store was a Hancock Fabrics to begin
It
with.
used to be, yeah.
I remember that as a child.
Yeah.
It was in direct competition with a Benjamin Franklin that
Yeah,
happened to be on
that
the other side of the mall
Benjamin
because I grew
Franklin
up
is
in
an
that area.
yeah, Benjamin Franklin was interesting. I sat at Quilt Market with someone who managed a Benjamin Franklin, and you got quilt shop quality fabric at Benjamin Franklin. It was operated like its own quilt shop within the store. Like it would have its
Oh,
own
that's
fabric
very
manager.
interesting.
They would do their own ordering. Each store was responsible for their own ordering. You could get like Moda or whatever
hmm
there.
This like
So you,
goes into my old background of when
yeah,
I worked for the toy departments at Sears and Kmart. We were an independent. All the departments worked as their own independent organizations within the larger
this
organization.
was even more
Even
like
more so
nailed down.
niche,
Like
as in it
each
was its own
location,
business.
yeah, each location ordered its own fabric individually.
It's super cool though.
It's well, and I don't know if that happens everywhere, but when I
Mm-mm.
sat at a booth where or at a table, if you order anything from Moda at any point during the year, I don't know if they still do it, but at the time they would invite you to this big banquet at market and they
hmm
would feed you and you would get your big, your
You
meal
got your
thing too,
meal.
whatever. And and so it was really cool to sit with other people and see how
hmm
other people manage their business. And I met with one person there, and then I this is when I knew, like, okay, this is not how I can run my business. Is I was sitting with somebody who said her husband was a farmer and she made a profit in her business, in her quilting business. And her husband said, "You can't make a profit in your business. It's not good for our taxes." So she bought a sewing machine and that put her in the hole. And I'm like, if a sewing machine is all
Oh,
it takes to put you in the hole, you weren't making that much
I don't know.
profit.
There are sewing machines that could do it.
I understand, but even if you're talking about like buying a $40,000,
Yeah, you shouldn't.
long arm, that's that's not a lot of profit.
No.
It just isn't. And so I kind of knew at that point, I was like, this is not how I can run my business. And it honestly makes me feel a little better knowing that we were just one of the first to fall,
It's
to be
true.
completely honest.
The way that everything's going, you're seeing a lot of dominoes.
Yeah. We just weren't,
You
I
were
just
just
pulled
an
the
early
plug.
domino.
Yeah, basically.
And whoever makes it, bless them. By all
I
means,
know.
there is no hate out
There's
there at
got to be
all
fabric.
for
We're
these
all going to need
companies
it
that make
eventually.
it. We want everybody
Yeah.
to be able to make it. I would
Yeah.
love to own a fabric store. You were an accidental fabric store owner and
I
all.
never really meant to be a quilt shop owner. It just kind of
I
happened.
mean, that would be a dream of mine, but at the same time, I realized that there's a lot of liability and there's a lot of
Oh my gosh, yeah.
moment where the market's good and then the market is not good and
Well, the
people cut
way,
back, but people cut back on the things that are optional. When you
yeah.
have things like a stash of fabric, buying the extra newest fabric is not the priority.
Here's the two biggest challenges I see to being a quilt shop owner.
Hmm.
One, because of the way fabric is ordered, produced, and shipped out, you are sometimes ordering fabric 9 months to 11 months before it's going to show up.
Wow. I
So
thought it was
you,
more like six,
no, that's not
9
it.
to 11.
Nine
Wow.
to 11 months, depending on the company. So you're trying to predict what sales are going to be like a year from now based on your previous year's data.
And
When you're in your
that makes
first
sense
year,
in a retail scenario where you're
yeah,
talking about where I sold toys.
yeah. But
Christmas last year probably dictate a similar Christmas to next year
yeah.
for toys. Fabric,
So
the
who
economy
knows?
changes.
Economy changes, the that line might not hit. When I sold Tula Pink, there were the diehard Tulas who would buy everything,
It was
Chantel
me.
included,
It was me.
but
It was
every
mostly
other
me.
line tanked. Tanked. I would so it got to the point where I would buy the pre-cuts, I would buy a couple of bolts of the main prints. That was it because that was all I knew I could sell. And, it
You
sucks. I
couldn't
love
push other
Tula.
things because it just
Yeah,
wouldn't make sense.
I love Tula. Love it. But it doesn't always move.
Me
Same
too.
with Rifle Paper Company. I can have a Rifle Paper Company Christmas line, sells out completely. Then I go get the travel line that she comes out with, and I am struggling to sell that shit.
Hmm.
And it's very hit or miss, even within the same designer, even with a really popular designer.
It's a
So
gamble.
yeah, so not only are you placing those orders a year ahead of time, and you can refuse the orders. You can get them and be like, I just can't take it. Like I don't have the money to take it. I can't do it.
Right.
But then you feel really bad, and if you do it enough times, then you're going to piss off the company. And then the other part of it is pre-pandemic, you were paying $10 to $11 a yard for fabric.
It's
It
not
was
the
a
same anymore.
struggle. It was a struggle to get anybody to pay 14 or more, and that was for really nice organic cotton. Now everything is like 14 or more. And
It
so,
is.
and people don't understand the difference between what you get from a quilt shop and what you get from Joann's. And there's a significant difference. A significant difference.
There's almost, I mean, there's like a third as much fabric, truthfully, when you're talking about threads that are
Yeah.
going through that fabric.
Like when I was there for a couple of months, like I spent years doing all the cutting of stuff before we had enough staff to do it. I never had broken fingernails. I never had dry hands. None of that. When I was working at Joann's, I had to keep my nails short as could be because I was constantly breaking them, and my hands were constantly dry because that fabric was sucking all the moisture out of it
It was just
because it
full of
was just so,
starch and
yeah,
just,
it's not good. And the chemicals that they use for it are not great. Um, it's not the same.
I
It is
have
not the
fabric,
same.
one quilt, the Christmas quilt, as some of you might know it
I
as.
know, we've heard about this
Um,
one.
the Christmas quilt, where I used Tula Pink, but I used cheap Joann's black fabric. And I'm tearing apart that quilt to this day
Yeah.
because it just,
You can't bring yourself to do it.
it's
And honestly,
see-through, guys. It is warping as I sew it and as I've gotten to be better because I started that quilt. I bought that fabric with my mother. My mother's been gone for
a long time.
over 7 years. Okay. So when I started that quilt, I was still very fresh. I thought I could mix it and it would be fine. It would be absolutely fine. It is not fine. It is not fine. It is far from fine. That doesn't mean you can't find good fabric at these stores. It just means that I literally bought the cheapest thing that was available, and the cheapest
Oh
thing that
yeah,
was
there was
available was see-through.
the
And you
and
saw it in
honestly,
person.
you're gonna be better off. I made my husband one of the very first quilts I ever made, and literally the first big one
Hmm.
was a line I quilt for him, and I know I bought the fabric from Joann's, and I don't know what I got, but the only fabric to fall apart on that is the white. Every single white square is literally missing. You can see the batting on that. All the other stuff, I got all the
Which
alignment
makes
stuff.
sense,
Yeah.
truthfully, because the opportunity to buy a white fabric wasn't. No, I have to interrupt and ask you, you're sewing these. I
Mhm.
notice, and I understand why. You're sewing the white strip on the bottom,
I am.
blocks on the top. Explain that.
Why am I doing that?
Hmm.
Okay. You know the answer. You're just trying to get me
I
to
do,
answer it
but
for
I
everybody
feel
else.
like I've
Okay.
seen enough of this at this point that
Okay. We'll see
it's
if we
making
can get it
sense
on
to
here.
me, and I know
Okay.
from experience why. But here,
So you can
learn.
see it's a white fabric. It's a white thread, but you can see it. It's coming right here and it's coming right to the seam side of where that little triangle is. And the reason why I'm sewing it with this side up is because then I can see this
Versus,
triangle
like, show them the
and
other side.
well, you can't see anything on this side.
Right,
It's
it's
just a
just a
strip.
small strip. It would seem
But
that the small
because
strip would be the easiest to hold on the top.
Yeah, so because I'm doing this, I'm able to sew just the side of that point. So then later when I open this up, I have a fabulously perfect point
Hmm.
that goes right out to the edge. So that's why I do it that way. Is it the easiest thing to do? No, no, it's not. But
No,
it
having the
gives me the best
smallest fabric
results.
on the bottom versus the top means that you lose a little bit of visibility.
Yeah, but
But
it
in
totally
this
works for me.
case, you have so many seams that are coming up on that larger piece
Yeah,
that it's worthy of being able to see them all.
exactly.
Yeah. And it
And I
means
mean,
that
I
those
could
seam
wing it.
allowances you have pressed open are staying open. How many times have I sewn something and the seam allowance that I have pressed open is no longer open?
Yeah. Well, and you can really see the difference. Maybe this is a better one to show it on.
The other
So,
one that you
so
showed,
here's
yeah,
one where
that's a
you can
great
really see.
example.
I mean, look at how good that turned out. And it's because I knew where my point was going to be and I made sure that I was just a little bit next to the side of it. And sometimes, we all want to have a quarter inch seam and have it be a perfect quarter inch seam. And most of the time I hit it, but not all the time. And so this allows me to sort of move a little bit within that
Hmm.
and make it look good because no one's going to see the inside of your quilt ever.
Yes, exactly. And the white
Never.
part of it, when you go to sew these blocks together, nobody's going to be that white part might be a little less than an inch
No,
and a half. No, they're going to notice where those points of the
exactly.
red meets the navy blue.
Exactly.
It's not going to be if the white happens to be a little bit. So you have to know where to fudge. You have to be able to fudge in the portion that is not going to be as obvious
Exactly.
as the point that it is going to be obvious.
Apparently, we distracted Joan and she sewed the row upside down.
I I distracted my own self. I'm at the point where I've
Ah,
given up.
it's all good. It's all good. Have you like given up? Like, should I cut these so I have a nice stack and we can call it a night and you can get
I
back
don't
to
know. I am
figuring
what I
out
am.
figuring out when things are happening?
Generally, I
I have been up since like quarter to five. I'm tired.
that's fine. Let's stretch it 5 minutes and make it work
All
because
right, let me cut
I
these apart and we'll be good.
we
And I'll
have
finish up next week.
quite the June coming ahead of us. We should warn everybody. We have
Yes,
next week, but the week after that, if
we
I'm
are going to
right,
be off.
we will be
Yeah, so
off
we'll be here next week, but the week after, no live.
and I will be at Frocktails that week anyways.
So that'll be
That's
fun.
Frocktails week. But the week after that, I will actually be on a plane on my way to Florida.
So are you sure you want to do next week since you're not going to be here? You're going to be at Frocktails?
No, 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 not next week. Next week
Okay.
I will be here. The week
Okay.
after is Frocktails. And the week
Okay.
after that, I will be on a plane.
Okay. We'll
So
figure it out.
next week we will definitely be here because we really have no choice because the rest of June is taken up by flights and
Vacations.
activities.
So yeah. And then we'll have some time in July too where we're elsewhere. But I don't think I have anything in August that
Mm-mm.
I'm aware of.
Not too
I don't know.
much.
Besides seeing Wicked with you, and that's not on a
Yes,
Friday.
and that is on a Sunday. So we get to see
Yes,
Wicked again.
that'll be fun.
Yes.
Very excited
So,
about
for those that don't know, we got to see Wicked while we were in London. And
it.
I just
Chantel scored front row seats for like 20 quid
so I've learned that
or
these
20
theater
pound.
groups, yes, these theater groups like to they like to offer the front row if possible as an open opportunity to those that happen to be online at the proper time. And I happened to just fall across what that proper time would be, and that proper time just happened to be 20 minutes from the time that I was online. And yeah, we ended up getting front row tickets
We were so close. We
just
could
off
see
the
the
center.
texture. We could see the texture on the costumes, is
Oh,
how
the
close we were.
costumes were great.
It was amazing.
So good. You could see
Amazing.
them spit. But
Yeah, it was
we
insane.
weren't the spitting direction.
Yeah, we were like a little off to the side. It was fabulous.
Just right off to the side enough that we weren't at spitting
I
direction, but
think
just
you
seeing
all
the
just heard me
texture.
fart on the internet. I'm just gonna say it. I totally thought I was gonna get away with that.
I
Oh
didn't
shit.
hear you, but
Oh,
after you said it, it is what it is, girl.
I just
Mm,
outed myself. Oh my God.
this is
What's wrong
where
with
we're
me?
at in our life. We're like,
I'm 40. It
I'm
happens.
39. I'm still young.
You are. You're a spring chicken.
I'm
Spring
so much
chicken.
time.
I literally ran into one of my college professors today at the event that I was at working. And I was like, he's like, I wouldn't have recognized you if you hadn't said anything. I'm like, well, it has been 20 years and a few pounds. And he's like, it hasn't been 20 years.
20
I'm
years?
like, I'm like, it has. We both got old. I'm sorry to tell you.
Oh my God. 20.
I
It
still think about the
hurts.
advice he gave me, though. I literally thought about a piece of advice he gave me like the day before, yesterday. Yesterday, I was thinking about something he told me. We were at some other conference and they're like, "What's the best piece of advice you ever got?" And I'm like, "Well, that would be from Cliff Brockman."
And what
Uh,
was it?
it was a journalism thing. It was people don't care about the news. They care about the people affected by the news. And so that has really stuck with me because I feel like um I mean, I really used that when I was like building Full Addicts Anonymous because people cared about me in addition to the pattern. He was very proud of all the skills that I used to build my business, of all the journalism skills I used for it.
That's really sweet.
Incredibly proud of it. So, because we're still friends on Facebook and we took a picture together. It was great.
Aw,
So,
I love
it was
that.
lovely. Yeah.
I love that. That's
Mm,
awesome. I've had
yeah.
some good teachers over the span of everything, but one of my favorite teachers has been my third grade teacher, not just college, but my third grade teacher
Third
who
grade
I
teacher.
remain friends with on Facebook, and she sends me quilty stuff now. And
That's funny.
her quotation essentially about me is that it was extremely unique, and maybe she didn't say it, but essentially eccentric. And then she always
Well, that's
knew,
accurate.
I know, she
You've been on
always
brand since third
knew
grade.
that I was destined for something unique and essentially magical because I never conformed essentially to the normalcy of what a normal third grader
Would you?
would do. And that she was always curious what that would end up being
For you.
because she knew that at that age that normalcy was not an option.
That's a good thing.
Something
I feel like that's a
beyond,
good thing, though.
right. It wasn't like you're going to be like weird and messed up. It was more like you're going to thrive when you find the environment that
That fits
lets
you
that
best.
like sizzle, right?
Yeah.
And I always thought that was very cool. And she remains a somebody that I care very much about to
So
this
my
day.
third grade teacher lived in the neighborhood that I lived in when I was a
Hmm.
high schooler, and she figured this out. So she hired me to babysit her kids. And I got to see her come home drunk.
Yes.
That was my lasting memory of my third grade teacher.
That's
Like
wonderful.
15,
I'm like
and I'm like,
sharing this
you're
very
a teacher.
heartfelt memory of my third grade teacher, and you're like, and mine came home drunk.
Drunk. And
I
then her
feel like
husband drove me home because she couldn't do it.
cheers, everyone.
Oh, raise a black cherry. Oh.
Raise a black cherry to your third grade teacher right here.
That was like the perm stage too. She had a perm and she had a tanning bed in her basement.
Oh
These
my
are the
God,
things that you don't need to know about your teachers.
a tanning bed.
Tanning bed.
That was
This is
so third
this was
grade, though.
this was so like late 1990s, early 2000s is when this was happening.
97, probably
Yeah.
94,
I was probably
95
like
for third grade.
15. I was probably like 15 when I babysat her kids. So it would have been like 2001, probably.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That should be one of those questions. They're like, did you live in a house that is before 1972 or whatever? Did you chew on the woodwork? Did you happen to own a tanning bed in your basement in
Or
the
a water bed.
90s?
Did you have a water bed?
Did you have a water bed?
I
That
had a
should be a
boyfriend with a water
requirement
bed.
on a health assessment. When it
Oh,
wants to know a little bit about you, did you chew on the woodwork in 1972? Did you own a water bed? Did you have
I know,
a
right?
tanning bed? This is the mess we lived with.
I'm totally calling you when we're offline. I got to tell you another story that I'm not going to tell you on the air. This is
No and
prior to
yes,
when you and
Donna
I met.
says.
We had
I
not
don't
met
know.
yet. You had not gone to Augustana yet. I got to tell you this story. But it's not safe for work because we cannot say this on the internet.
I'm proud of you for knowing that it's not safe.
I have not drank enough to be that unfiltered, so we're gonna be good.
I'm just proud of you for knowing the boundary.
Yeah, this is not something I'm gonna
We've
share on
known each
on
other
the
way
interwebs.
too long.
It's all good.
Most of our life, maybe half of
Yeah,
our life.
literally half of our life. Yeah, I've
Hmm.
literally known you half of my life.
Donna's like, spill.
Oh, I'm not saying no. I'm
Madonna,
not.
we.
You know what? When I write my spicy romances, you can read that and you can take it as inspiration. It'll be
Wait,
fine.
wait, there's plumbing and tanning beds. What you're suggesting?
No.
No. Just a hard
It has
no.
nothing to do with the tanning bed.
There
Oh my
are
God.
water beds and plumbing and tanning beds. It is just a great medieval
No,
situation.
we're not gonna. I'm not sharing this one on the internet. This is for Chantel's ears only.
Oh my God. That's
All right,
great.
guys. Have a good Friday night. We will see you next week.
We will
Bye,
see you next
everybody.
week. Goodbye.